right, welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the video and article that I do for comicbookinvest.com, where I talk about those cheap books that you can still find in those dollar bin, those discount boxes, based off of some of the recent news, rumors, announcements, things going on in the actual comics, things going on television shows, etc. Just things kind of pique my interest that I find interesting that I think you can still find in those cheap boxes. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And if you haven't tried Whatnot, tried out the app, now's your chance to give it a try. First-time users, use my link below and you get a free $15 on me to buy whatever you want with whomever you want. No strings attached. You can get whatever you like and just try it out for free. Not only will you help the channel, you also get yourself something, something nice for free. So what do you got to lose? With that all said, if you want to see this week's books, all you got to do is hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. All right, so what do we got this week? This week, we are going to start off with the news. And we do have a few interesting things in the news, some rumors, etc., that we can, go and look for books. Pretty sure by now you've all seen the recent Taylor Swift rumors because we can't get enough Taylor Swift. If it wasn't Dazzler, now it's the Blonde Bombshell. So, Blonde Phantom, or whatever you want to call her. Yes, classic character. This was rumored to be Scarlett Johansson's vehicle. She's apparently still going to be producing it, but now they're looking for somebody else, I guess, to star in it. Why they're going back to the Blonde Phantom? I don't know, but it seems to be the direction they possibly could be going. And once again, Taylor Swift is rumored for this role. Does it mean it's going to happen? No. Even if it does that mean we should go and get all these comics? Probably not. But that's why we're talking about it here on the cheap, the cheap stuff and the cheap boxes, because you can find some of this stuff for the Blonde Phantom in those boxes. Now, you are absolutely not going to find her first appearance. That was all the way back in 1946. Don't be ridiculous. We're not going to find, all select number 11 in a dollar bin. Not saying that. So what else can we look for? We can look for, well, her reintroduction since the Golden Age, which she had played a pretty major role throughout Byrne's sensational She-Hulk run, and it started here with issue number 2 in 1989. She was like an older secretary. She broke the fourth wall, kind of an interesting little supporting character. And like I said, she was in most of that 60-issue run. I want to say she was in almost 50 of the issues, something like that. But pretty strong supporting character, and some fun books. There's some fun storylines in this run. But we'll start here with this first one. So in issue 2, this would kind of be her reintroduction, modern day first appearance, whatever you want to call it. She kind of pops up. Granted, not a big role here. She's a secretary here. So going by the nickname of Wheezy. So Wheezy first shows up here, and they're just in a few panels. Not a huge, first appearance or big to do, but it is what it is. And if you're interested, well, these have started to sell. The volumes have started to sell since this news from a couple of days ago. So this is some of the recent stuff. You're seeing copies sell for, it's still cheap. Don't get me wrong. It's still $4 or $5. And then you see some lots of random issues, selling for 12. So it's still selling for very cheap, but it is starting to sell. So this is something to keep an eye on, as look at some of these asking prices are starting to get jacked up, looking for the fervor being created by this Blonde Phantom news. So we got copies that are hitting like $10 to $15, even somebody reaching for $34. Will they get it? I don't know, maybe. I mean, it's a newsstand. People like paying extra for newsstands, so maybe they will get it. Granted, this was issue 2, and you saw it was a very short introduction, just a few panels, not a whole lot there. But it also, she's just going by the name Wheezy. It isn't until issue 4 here where we do find out that she actually was, the old character from the Golden Age, the Blonde Phantom, which is kind of a fun little callback, again, for this run. So in this issue, we see her not only sharing that she was the Blonde Phantom, she also shows, She-Hulk how to break the fourth wall, and that became like a thing that She-Hulk did, much like Deadpool does, where, fourth wall breaking. So credit that to the Blonde Phantom here. Thanks to Wheezy. Issue 4 is where we get this little introduction to all that. Copies also here selling for kind of cheap. $3, $5, highs $10. Copies available, well, 10, 15, 20. Like I said, prices are being raised right now because of the volumes that are starting to move. So don't get caught up in the FOMO. Go dig in the boxes. There's plenty of these out there. Plenty out there. So just go digging. Now, a little bit later in the run, like I said, she shows up throughout the run, but a little bit later in the run, we do get a 3-issue story arc about the return of the Blonde Phantom. So that's another interesting one we might want to keep an eye on here. So it's actually through the 3 issues. I picked this one in the middle issue, because it is probably my favorite cover of the group. But issue 22, but it's actually issues 21, 22, and 23 that is this 3-issue story, excuse me, story arc for the return of the Blonde Phantom. You can see it even at the top of the trade dress. Part 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3, etc. Now, the lots, well, they have been selling in lots a bit, and individual issues could sell for like, $8, things like that, a few dollars. And again, right now, it's because people are looking for this stuff. You can still go find it in those cheap boxes. But sets of the 3 issues have been selling for about $35, which I found kind of interesting. Copies available. Once again, prices are kind of all over. There could be anywhere from like $10 to $15 to as high as $30. Granted, that final issue, that 23, of this story arc, is the censored issue. It's a Kevin McGuire cover that's also had some interest throughout the years. So that one's always been a little bit pricey, where it's been $10 to $15 for a while. So we're just seeing it kind of creep up a little bit more now that it's tied in with the Blonde Phantom as well. So just be mindful of that. And again, there's another story arc where her and She-Hulk switch powers in like 48. I thought about covering that one too, but I felt like this was enough She-Hulk. So to give you another option of something you can look for the Blonde Phantom, you do have the Avengers 1959 miniseries. It's 5 issues, relatively cheap. It's Howard Chaykin did this, and you can see her on the covers of most of the books. This is issue 1 in the middle, and then we got issue 2 and issue 3. She's actually not on issue 3. That's Namora, I think, or Namorita, but Namorita. But you got like Dominic Fortune and a lot of other strange characters popping up in and out of this series. And we got issues 4 and 5 there as well. Now, this is another book. It's not very expensive. You could see the entire sets selling for only like $20, or you can see issues 1, 2, and 3 for only $4. So you can get lots for cheap. And then again, pick your cover or pick your issue, $3.50. This is a very cheap book. So this is something you can still probably dig out of those cheap boxes if you go looking this weekend before they get scoured and cleaned out by everybody else, Asking prices for these things, well, right now they're still very cheap. $2.50, $5, as high as $9 for individual issues. But by and large, you'll be able to find these, I think. Now, that's enough Blonde Phantom for one day, right? I feel like I've talked about that enough. So let's look at something different and shift on over to well, there was the news that they're still, McFarlane's still going to do the Spawn movie, but yeah, like I'll believe that when it happens. Announced 7 years ago, they're still working on it. But with that news, we also got news that he's going to do a Violator series that's going to explore the fan favorite villain's origins. Guess we need this 30 years later? I don't know, but we're going to be getting it. So there's going to be a Violator mini-series coming very soon. Looks like August. We could be getting this. Yay. And Violator's been around, again, almost as long as Spawn. Barely missing the first issue. Violator showed up in issue number 2 from July of 1992. Now, you're probably wondering, like, why are you showing me issue 2 with Spawn? You can't find this in a dollar bin. Kind of can't. There's a lot of these, and I get that Spawn 1 people still buy consistently for $20, but the other issues like 2, 3, and 4, tons of them out there, and you can still go and dig them. Trust me. And 5 and 6 while you're at it, all those. But the one we're talking about here is issue 2 because, again, it is the first appearance of the Violator. Yes, I know that's his clown form, but he does also turn into that monstrous thing later in the issue 2. So however you want to look at it, clearly this is his first appearance. So Spawn issue 2 is the book you want to look for that if you want that Violator first. it's still cheap. Like I said, even online copies sell for only like, issues 2 and 4 sold together on best offer $6. Best offer on $6. 850 on 2 bids for near mint minus, and then the best offer on $12 is another recent sale. But copies available, you can see they're $45. Easy, $45. That's it. It's not pricey at all. So don't expect to get rich. But it may see a little bit more interest if this series is a hit, or people start getting interested again in the character. Maybe even they make this movie eventually. Who knows? Anything can happen. Okay, what else do we got? Sort of news, but it's comic related news. Just like this was a announcement of a new comic series coming, we're getting a character to being reintroduced into the Energon universe. You guys know I'm a big fan of the Energon universe. I'm really digging what Skybound's doing, so I am happy to see that Shockwave is coming to the Energon universe, and he's coming very soon. I mean, we're already at issue 7, so we only got to wait just 2 more months, or if that, to get this, because by issue 9, this is just one of the covers. There's multiple covers here for the character. And yeah, we're going to get Shockwave in this universe, which I can't wait to see. And Shockwave, the character, has been around for a while. Yeah, I didn't change the Violator picture there in the middle, but you get it. You know who Shockwave is. He's the other picture right there. But he goes all the way back to nearly the beginning, March 1985. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait a second. What about that one who's on the cover? We'll get to that. But in March of 1985, Transformers started with those 4 issues as a miniseries, kind of just introducing the Transformers. So issues 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in issue 4, we get kind of a flashback story, which not only has Shockwave in it, but you can also see the Dinobots are also shown and named in said flashback. So even as we all like to point to, what is it, issue 8 as the first Dinobots, they showed up before in issue 4. So don't forget about issue 4, just because it's the last issue of the miniseries. But it does okay. And granted, I know Transformer books are hard to find these days because a lot of people are buying them. But just like the G.I. Joes and the Transformers from Marvel, if you can find them, there's a lot of them I'd like to pick up, and I suggest you do. But they're still not they're not all pricey or super duper expensive. Look, copy selling for $7 to $10. It's not like a ton of money. Asking prices on this particular issue, $8, $10, like $12. Again, it's the final issue of the mini. It is not a lot there. And some people will list it, as you can see, as first appearance of Shockwave and the Dinobots. It is a flashback, and it's just a few panels off, I think a couple of pages, might be like 2 pages worth. But it's in there, as you saw. And then the next issue, which is actually a couple months later. So this was in June of 85, because again, the miniseries ended in March. So in June of 85, they pick up with Shockwave. And this is a classic cover. Love this cover. This has been a book that people have been grabbing for a while now. Granted, they used to grab it out of dollar bins just because it was cool. And it was like, yeah, it's like $5, $10 maybe. It's a little pricier these days. So bear that in mind when I show you these. That, yeah, you can still kind of find it if you go digging. You might get lucky, but it's gotten tougher to find issue 5 because it's become, more of a classic and more sought after over the last few years. But issue 5 here, you can see some recent sales, $15 up to like $25. Asking prices could be $15, $12, 25-ish. Some more. There's some more expensive. But it's all condition sensitive, obviously, as well. But yeah, Shockwave right there on the cover. It's awesome cover. And he is throughout this issue. But like I said, he kind of showed up in the issue before. So don't forget about that one too. All right. That's our news for today. Try to keep this one short because I got to get Hot 10 done as well to get that done this week. It's a busy week. Just still trying to play catch up being back at work. But with that said, comics. So a few things going on in the comics this week that we can talk about. I know Marco covered some stuff on the tax show that I would have also done like here in Dollar Bin Digging. So he covered it in Under the Radar yesterday. So make sure you're watching the tax show because Under the Radar is kind of an extension of what I do as well. But it's another angle and another mind giving you some other books. So keep that keep that one in mind and make sure you check it out. You can go back to the show and use the timestamp if you don't want to watch the full 3 hours. But with that all said, new this week Immortal Thor number 11. So, we got that Roxxon Thor not that long ago. And with that, there's a lot of fourth, I want to say, it's like a very meta thing going on in Thor these days with Roxxon or owning the rights to Thor, the comic. And it, it's kind of strange. It's kind of strange. It got some weird angles. But in this issue, for issue 11, all of Odin's children basically gonna gather together here. So inside this issue, and you can see most few of them there on the cover. You got Loki, you got Angela, you got Thor, and you got Balder. And there a lot of their firsts are kind of pricey, except Angela. You can get, if you want to go back to the Spawn book, you can go to that Spawn 9, but we'll get to that in a second. But as I said, here, big group, they're all meeting, all the kids of Odin here. But there's some interesting ones in here, ones we haven't seen in a while, like this guy. This guy right here is I don't know how I want to say this. Hermod, Odin's son. He's been around for since the late 70s. So Hermod, Odin's son, he's also kind of like the Norse equivalent of Mercury, or he's speed. He's fast. So keep that in mind. He's got speed, so he's kind of like the delivery guy of the gods. But in September of 1978, we did get first introduced to Hermod in this one. I believe this was this following the death of Balder? I think Balder died in the issue before this one. But again, we're not covering Balder because Balder's first, it goes early on in the Thor run, and we ain't finding those. But Hermod right there, kneeling before Odin. He's, oh yeah, sorry. There's the arrow. There he is, right there. Yeah, so he's fast. And this is a book, again, it's not too expensive. You can find a good chunk of the old Thor books out there for pretty cheap. And this is still like $5 to $7. It's not an expensive book, even if you do find it. Asking prices, again, $5 to $7. So it is what it is. There's some other first appearances in here as well. Looks like appearance of Sigyn, Loki's wife, as well. But Hermod is the reason why I decided to bring it up today, because of that gathering right here, which we're going to get back to. Once again, we're going to skip over Loki, and we're also not going to talk about Balder or even Honir the Hunter, because Honir the Hunter also shows up when Balder shows up, and that's like in the 100s of Thor. So we're not finding that in the dollar bin. So we're skipping those characters over, and we're going over to this guy over on the end. This is Vidar or Vidar or Vidar. I don't know how we say it. Vidar, Odin's son, half brother. So half brother to a lot of, because again, they don't all have Freya as their mother, like Thor, and Loki's adopted. But this guy here, Vidar, is a frost giant. He's half frost giant. So Odin, with a frost giant, brings us this guy. This guy on the cover, so we don't have to go into the guts of this book. Thor Annual 12. Once again, very cheap. It even tells you Mighty Thor versus Odin's other son. So there you go. Vidar, however you say it. Very cheap book. You can find this one out there. Look, best offer on $3. $5. And it graded 9.4 for $25. It costs that to grade the book. Asking price is $2.50 to $4. Once again, very, very cheap book, something you can find out there. So this is the kind of fun thing I'm talking about. Almost, again, in that scavenger hunt kind of angle that we had Marco do at the con. These are just some books that I'm challenging you guys to go out there and find based off of this, some of the comic appearances we got here. So if you find them, again, tag me on Instagram. Let me know. I'd love to see it. And it's not because I think you should go and buy these because you're going to go get rich on Vidar's first appearance. I'm just saying, when you're digging in those cheap boxes and those dollar boxes, you're looking for those really big scores and those hits like, oh, I found a New Mutants 98 or an ASM 300. Great. Doesn't happen often, doesn't happen for everyone. But while you're looking for those big books, just remember, sometimes you can throw some of this type of stuff in there, kind of round out your pile, just for kind of fun. Comics should be fun. So just keep that in mind when you're out there digging. That if you feel like you don't want to walk away empty-handed, these are some of the odd little things you can get. And you'll be like, well, at least there's a first appearance in it. Just tuck it away in a box, and who knows. But with that said, we're going back. We're going back to our group shot and seeing who else we have here. Well, as I mentioned, we have Angela. We do know that Angela was first created over in the Spawn universe, and then they brought her over into the Marvel universe proper. Yes, you can go get Spawn 9, but you know, we all know that. Different angle for this one. We'll look at Aldrif, Odin's daughter, because Odin's son, Odin's daughter. I don't know. I'm not Norse, so I can't do the accent right, but you know what I'm trying to do. So Aldrif, who is Angela, first appeared in the Marvel universe, or introduced into the Marvel universe at the end of Age of Ultron. Remember Age of Ultron, all that timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff? Inside that final issue of that event, we got introduced to Angela. There's even a variant cover where she's on the cover, but the cover I'm showing you is the cover A, so just look for that. It's the easiest one you'll probably find in the boxes. But yes, at the end of it, you'll see Angela being introduced to the Marvel universe. Again, if you're not knowing, right there, just to point it out, make it clear. Again, not a very expensive book. You can find these, if you can find these, $2 to $3. Look, one seller is clearing these out and selling them on some crushed velvet sheets or something, or satin sheets. I don't know what's going on there, but $3 they're selling copies for. And then there's copies available for $4, as high as $10. And some will list it as first Angela in the Marvel Universe, but not all will. Some will just have it as Age of Ultron number 10. So I'm not telling you to go buy them online, though. So it doesn't really matter so much what the search is. This is the search I'm talking about in the boxes. That's your best bet, and you'll get it for a cheap price. So our Odin's daughter. She's not the only Odin's daughter, though. Going back to our big group shot here, I bypassed her, but right here in Hermod's hands is the newest sibling of Thor, and that's I'm gonna struggle with this one too. Lausa, Odin's daughter. So yeah, baby though, baby spec. So you got a little girl here. First showed up in Angela, Asgard's assassin. So yes, this was a book that was actually on a lot of people's radars and in the spec cycle before because of Sarah, another character inside of here is a first appearance. But that spec has kind of died and forgotten about, after our Thor movies have just kind of went their way. I still think we're going to get another Thor movie, despite the fact that 4 was a little bit of a letdown. But there was a lot of speculation, and a lot of speculation still around this book. So right now, it's kind of forgotten about. It's kind of just thrown back into the pile. But inside this issue, again at the end, the new heir to Asgard, it's Luasa, however you say it. There she is, and she's got some kind of creepy stuff flowing out of her. But this is her, baby spec. This book, it's like $5 these days. You see copies selling $5. 9/8 sold for all of $56. But there's even copies listed. Buy it now, $2. Granted, it's only fine, so it's not a near mint copy, but $2 you can find this even online. And $5 to $6 are a lot of the other like near mints if you really wanted to go shopping online. But again, I'm telling you, go dig in the boxes. So that's a lot of the Norse characters you could find. Again, because you're not finding Balder or Hodir and Loki. Yeah, we're not finding them. But these other oddballs, yeah, you can find them. There's a lot of characters in the Thor side of the universe. And a lot of them have first appearances that aren't that expensive. So there's a few that you can go and keep on your radar when you're out there digging those Thor books. All right, with that, I think I got another one for you. Another comic came out this week. Yes, Catwoman. So, going over to the DC side of things. I know I don't talk a lot of DC because, I don't know, I'm just not really loving a lot of what DC's doing. Nightwing's been good, but even with some of the stuff I am liking that they're doing, there isn't a lot of fun stuff for me to dig out, related to it, because they're still talking about big characters that first appearances you're not going to find. That all said, Catwoman, though, this week gave us a few things that we can look for. Well, I'm going to kind of group them together because it really is a group that I'm talking about here. But in this issue 65, 9 Lives Part 7, we see the Demolition Crew. This is an old team. Granted, they look this is a revamped, newer kind of look for them. But this guy's right here looks like a 90s hip hop band. Yeah, these guys, Demolition Crew. I guess they're kind of a knockoff of the Wrecking Crew over at Marvel, but they came much, much later. Here's the group. So we're talking about Rosie the Riveter, Hard Hat, Steamroller, Jackhammer, and Scoop Shovel. Nothing instills fear in the hearts of heroes like the name Scoop Shovel. But it is what it is. This crew actually is not a bat crew or Batman side of things. They actually first showed up in Green Lantern. So Green Lantern, issue 176, so way back in 1984, that's when we got introduced to this crew. They're DT t-shirts. They're matching t-shirts. It looks like something that would be on, I don't know, like a Saturday morning cartoon. But the Demolition Team, there they are. Clear as day. Granted, this is like the final page splash where they're all as a crew and the unit all dressed up. They actually did show up earlier in the issue where they're like calling each other up, like, "Hey, Scoop Shovel, hey, you wanna bring your shovel," all that stuff. Like, so there are a little bit more. That's not just the final page splash, but this really is them as the team in the end. So that's why I picked this picture. But with that, this is also a cheap book. Nobody really cares. $1.75, $4, as high as $9. And then we got some available copies looking for $3, $5, $8. Again, this is all the kind of cheap stuff that I think is kind of fun to go out there and find and go dig for. So don't take it too seriously. Don't take comics too seriously. They can be fun. We can still have fun. We decide to open these things up, actually read them and enjoy the stories, and then go back and look at some of the history. And you go read the first appearance of a team that showed up in this most recent issue, and you get a sense of who they were, and maybe give you a sense of where they're going to go with them. I don't know. That all said, that's all I got for you this week. I had to cut it a little bit short. I did have a few more things I was going to squeeze in, but yeah, just like I said, didn't have the time. So with that said, thanks for stopping by and checking this out. I appreciate all the support. Make sure you check out all those links I mentioned down below, including our Discord, which we're trying to get up and running. I don't know much about Discord as a product or an app or whatever the heck you want to call it, but we're going to give it a try, and we're going to try to connect with you guys, with the audience, and share some fun stuff, maybe some of our hunting lists and extra side things that might not actually make it into shows. So go and check out the Discord down below, and join up. And like I said, if you haven't tried Whatnot, you can try that out too and get yourself, like I said, free $15. All you got to do, sign up, spend $15. You don't have to do anything after that. I don't care. You don't have to buy anything else. Just go use the free $15 and walk away for all I care. But with that all said, thanks again, and I'll see you soon with some more content. All right, later.